President Bongbong Marcos says the Philippines will cooperate with China in areas where their interests align, but would push back when its sovereignty, sovereign rights, and its jurisdiction in the West Philippine Sea are ignored. Speaking at a Lowy Institute forum during a visit to Australia, Marcos stresses that too much emphasis is being placed on the superpower rivalry between the United States and China at the expense of legitimate maritime interests of other countries in the region.
It distracts us from calling out aggressive, unilateral, illegal, and unlawful actions for what they are: attacks against the rule of international law and the principles of the Charter of the United Nations.
Ties between the Philippines and China have soured since Marcos took office in 2022, with repeated spats over disputed features in the South China Sea, at a time when Manila has been forging closer defense ties with longtime military ally, the US. China's recent aggressive acts in the West Philippine Sea include the use of water cannons and collision tactics to drive away Philippine vessels in areas Beijing sees as its territory. This despite a 2016 arbitral ruling dismissing China's sweeping claim over most of the South China Sea, including the West Philippine Sea.
Our independent foreign policy compels us to cooperate with them on matters where our interests align, to respectfully disagree on areas where our views differ, and to push back when our sworn principles, such as our sovereignty, our sovereign rights, and our jurisdiction in the West Philippine Sea, are questioned or ignored.
The Philippine Embassy in Washington refutes the Chinese embassy's remarks against Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Romualdez. China earlier criticized Romualdez after he stated that the West Philippine Sea is the real flashpoint of armed conflict in Asia. According to the Chinese embassy, Romualdez's remark hyped up the South China Sea issue and made speculations and malicious smears against China. The Chinese embassy advised Romualdez to refrain from serving as a mouthpiece for another country. But in a statement, the Philippine Embassy in Washington says none of China's remarks were true, emphasizing that Romualdez is not a mouthpiece for another country, nor is spreading erroneous threats. According to the Philippine Embassy, Romualdez's statements are consistent with the Philippine government's position, especially regarding China's aggressive and provocative actions against Philippine vessels in the disputed waters. The embassy further stresses that the Philippines remains committed to an international rules-based order, particularly the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and the 2016 Arbitral Award. The two Chinese research vessels seen in the Philippine Rise, formerly known as Benham Rise, are now out of the country's exclusive economic zone. According to Navy spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore Roy Vincent Trinidad, the two Chinese research ships were spotted 800 nautical miles east of Casiguran, Aurora as of Sunday, March 3. Trinidad says in a radio interview that the vessels were from Guangzhou and were headed to the southeast portion of the Pacific Ocean. He adds that there is nothing to be worried about this sighting, noting that this could fall under the freedom of navigation. The 24 million hectare undersea feature is part of the Philippine continental shelf and is inside the country's exclusive economic zone. The two Chinese research vessels reported in the Philippine Rise did not ask for permission to conduct explorations, according to National Security Council Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya. Malaya's statement comes after it was reported that Chinese research vessels were loitering at the Philippine Rise. According to Malaya, it would be considered illegal if the Chinese vessels were conducting marine research in the area.
Tayo lang, the Philippines is the only country that has rights over that area. At kung meron mang mga maritime or marine research vessels, wala silang karapatang mag-research doon, gumawa ng anumang exploration without the express consent of the Philippine government. And in this case, itong dalawang marine research vessels na ito ay hindi po humingi ng pahintulot mula sa pamahalaan. And if they are conducting marine research in that area, that is an illegal act.
The National Security Council spokesperson says the vessels had the right to innocent passage, but not the right to loiter in and explore the area. According to Malaya, the government is still probing whether or not the Chinese research vessels were conducting studies or simply passing by. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea allows for nations to enjoy non-economic uses in other states' exclusive economic zone, such as freedom of navigation as well as the right of overflight. The Philippine Rise, formerly known as Benham Rise, is on the eastern side of the country and is separate from the heavily disputed West Philippine Sea. The area spans half the Philippines' landmass and is rich in marine resources. National Food Authority Administrator Roderico Bioco and 138 other officials and employees are placed under preventive suspension for their alleged involvement in the sale of rice buffer stocks. According to Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel Jr., the Office of the Ombudsman's order for their preventive suspension took effect on Monday, March 4, and will be implemented for 6 months. The Department of Agriculture chief says he will temporarily take over the NFA leadership. Aside from Bioco, other NFA officials ordered suspended include NFA Assistant Administrator for Operations John Robert Hermano and several regional managers and warehouse supervisors nationwide. The Department of Justice has ordered the filing of child abuse and qualified trafficking cases against Kingdom of Jesus Christ leader Pastor Apollo Quiboloy. Justice Secretary Boying Remulla makes the announcement as the DOJ grants the petition for review pending before the department for over 4 years. The Davao City Prosecutor's Office dismissed the complaints of rape, child abuse, trafficking in persons through forced labor, and trafficking in persons through sexual abuse against Quiboloy and 5 other individuals. Following the granting of petition for review, the Office of the City Prosecutor of Davao City was ordered to file the case for violation of Republic Act 7610 or the Anti-Child Abuse Law, specifically the provision of sexual abuse of a minor. According to Remulla, the case for qualified human trafficking will be filed before the Pasig Court. Both chambers of Congress have begun their own investigations into Quiboloy and the Kingdom of Jesus Christ. The Senate is probing allegations of abuses he committed against women and children, while the House of Representatives is looking into alleged violations by KJC-owned Sunshine Media Network Incorporated of the terms of its franchise. The U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation had put out wanted posters of Quiboloy in 2022 for his alleged participation in a labor trafficking scheme that brought church members to the United States via fraudulently obtained visas and forced the members to solicit donations for a bogus charity. Quiboloy has denied allegations of rape and other illegal activities. Andi Eigenmann reveals that her mother, Jaclyn Jose, died of heart attack. In a press conference, Eigenmann discloses that her mother died at age 60 on March 2, or a day before her death was discovered and disclosed to the public. She requests the public to refrain from speculating about Jose's death and to give their family space to grieve the sudden death of the beloved veteran actress. Following the confirmation of Jose's death, celebrities' tributes began to pour in, praising Jose's professionalism and kind-heartedness. Fellow celebrities and filmmakers also noted her as a true icon in the Philippine entertainment industry.